Join us as we sit down with remarkable individuals from various walks of life who faced their fair share of obstacles and emerged with positivity. Each episode, you'll hear inspiring stories, actionable tips, and wisdom that can supercharge your own journey when using adversity as motivation. Let's learn together. Welcome to Lauer Power.
Hello, everybody, and welcome again to Lauer Power. This is a podcast where we use adversity as motivation. The voice behind the microphone today is Chad Evans, the other Chad Lauer, sitting there at the table too. Chad, thanks so much for being here today. And another edition of Lauer Power is off and running. Big thanks to our sponsors like GDK Development, Brian G. Persing Masonry, and of course, the Plumbing Outlet for being on board with this episode as well. Chad, take it away, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Are you ready for the holidays?
I think I'm ready for the holidays. I know the kids are ready for the holidays, and I think my wallet is not ready for the holidays.
Yeah, it's that time of year where there's all kinds of stress, especially for those of us with 4 and 3 kids. So, Chad, I'm wishing you the best of luck over the holiday rush here in the next week.
The hustle and bustle is certainly merry and bright.
Yeah, that's true. So, guys, thanks for joining us for another podcast. I have a super special guest here today, Milla Cassidy. Milla is the owner of Viva Travel. Her title is Owner and Travel Advisor. She's also the union captain for the Pennsylvania Breast Cancer Coalition. She's a special guest to me because we met through the Bucknell SBDC. For those of you that don't know about it, it's the Small Business Development Center. They're there at Bucknell University to help empower local businesses. And we immediately connected, and it actually had nothing to do with business. As Milla and I started chatting about her website and improving her business, she had opened up to me and told me a little bit about her cancer story, which those of you who have listened to the podcast know that I've been through many cancer battles as well. And I asked her, I said, hey, after learning about your story, will you please come on my podcast? And the reason why I wanted Milla to come on my podcast was she's been through it all, and she's been through a tough battle. But she said something to me, and she said, throughout this battle, I thought about how can I help somebody else? And that's the exact thing I said to my wife after my first brain surgery. I said, listen, Hillary, I just want to help somebody else that's going through this. So without further ado, Milla, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure being here. Thank you.
Yeah. So Milla, what I'd like to do is I'd like you to just kind of start and educate us a little bit about who you are, right? Tell us, who is Milla Cassidy?
Hi, everyone. So I am a travel advisor, and now I am the owner of Viva Travel Agency. And Viva became a celebration. It became a statement from where I was to where I would like to be. So because I am Afro-Portuguese, I was raised in Lisbon, Portugal. Viva is a common word for celebration. Like you say, Viva Portugal, Viva France, Viva Mexico. So it's a triumph and it's a celebratory word. So I definitely wanted to use it to celebrate my journey with cancer.
That's awesome. So tell us. You mentioned you were born in Lisbon, Portugal. So tell us about Milla, young Milla, and your journey there as a child in Lisbon, and then obviously your journey here to the United States.
Absolutely. So I was actually born in Guinea-Bissau, which is West Africa. It's exactly where Africa has that little lump. It was a Portuguese colony until 1974. When my parents got separated, unfortunately, I was age 2, I moved to Lisbon, Portugal to stay with my dad. So I am, in fact, the product of a man. So I was raised by my dad, and proudly so.
Wow, that's awesome. And then obviously you grew up there, school age. What came next?
Well, it came the adventure. Just because of the location of being in Europe, travel is very frequently. So my babysitting job was to take care of my nieces and nephews, and this was in Paris, France. So that was my summer job. So I am accustomed to travel. I love to travel, and I love the story and how you are transformed when you travel.
Wow. That's really cool. So you where like talk to us about traveling through Europe. Like, what age were you when you started to really kind of just let loose? And I'm assuming it was via train, or how would you travel throughout Europe?
Well, mainly via plane.
Plane, okay.
Yeah. So I would take one way from Lisbon to Paris, work for the summer, and then come back. Now, traveling to Europe is pretty easy just because of everything that involves now. We have train. We have so many ways to explore depending on what's your end goal. And with Viva Travel, obviously, we can customize your travel. But Europe is a cultural delight. You will travel between countries and learn new languages, smell other perfumes, and even taste different foods. It's amazing.
That's really cool. And then, so when did you move to Lewisburg?
So that was 2001.
Okay.
After meeting my husband overseas, and long distance dating for about 4 years, I finally committed to see if the relationship was going to work. So I moved in 2001, a little bit after September 11th, just because that was a little bit of a heartbreak, and it was a decision that I certainly, had to make.
Okay. And did you move to Lewisburg right away, or where did you move to?
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay. I lived in Philadelphia for 4 years. Where were you in Philadelphia?
Roxborough, right next to the radio station, Power 99.
So I lived on Leverington Avenue in Roxborough, and I lived on Sumac Street in Roxborough. So very near and dear to me. So how long were you in Roxborough?
For about 4 years or so. And the interesting thing is that when I first came, I didn't quite have an identity of what I was going to do or become, besides, everyone mentioning, the American dream. And I was thinking, okay, what does that look like? So my dream at some point was, according to Oprah, and with her guidance, I dreamed big, and I decided that I wanted to work for the United Nations. So I decided that would be my American dream.
Wow. So did you work there?
Almost.
Okay.
Almost. I had 2 interviews there, and then I found out that I was going to be a mom.
Oh, okay.
So the commute was no longer an option.
Okay. Awesome. And then you became a mom. How many kids do you have?
I have 3.
Okay. Cool. So talk to us a little bit about when your adversity hit, and tell us that story about how you managed that.
So the way my journey started was when I moved to Lewisburg, and this was in 2023. Prior to moving to Lewisburg, I was in Reading, Pennsylvania, doing my travel industry. I am a Penn Stater by heart,
awesome.
And that's where I graduated. But when I moved to Lewisburg, my husband was stationed, and he's still stationed at Fort Indian Town Gap. Now, what that came about is that we had the 2020 COVID. So I had opened an agency downtown Lewisburg with Travel Leaders Network, and it was going pretty well. After COVID, and because of COVID, we decided to close doors and work from home. So at that time, after everything opened up, I joined an agency down here in Sealings Grove, and I wanted to learn the experience about post-COVID travel. And that was when my journey started. I was in between training between Mexico and Jamaica, and I had this mammogram scheduled. Now, I've been taking mammogram exams since I was 40. And to be honest with you, I strongly recommend women to follow through with their appointments and do not miss them, because that saves my life. That saved my life.
So you were diagnosed in 2023?
Correct.
Okay. And talk to us about that.
That was difficult. It was a wake-up call that it doesn't matter if you have symptoms, lumps, or if you have a history. You have to be aware that mammogram may detect things that you're not aware of. That was very difficult because when I was first diagnosed in November, I was in denial. I thought it was a mistake. I said, nope, they're probably going to call me in 2 or 3 days saying this is an impossible, they made a mistake, and this is little impossible for me to have it. Because until then, the only thing I had was taking multivitamins. So I did not had any lumps. I didn't have any bruises or prior history that I knew of breast cancer within my immediate family. So that was quite a shock.
And how did you manage, what was next? Like, did you have to go through chemo? Like, tell us the story of what happened next after you realized, hey, this is real.
Absolutely. I didn't tell anyone. I was waiting for the doctor to call and said that they made a mistake. So I didn't tell anyone until I had to schedule a lumpectomy to have the tumor removed on my left side, on my left breast. And at that point, there was no turning back. I had to tell my husband, I had to tell my kids, and that was really heavy. That was very, very intense. During the process of communicating to them, getting scans, they found a second tumor in the same breast on the left side. They found a second one, and now lumpectomy was no longer an option. Now we had to go to a mastectomy, which is to actually remove the left breast. So that was a very difficult decision. It carries a lot of weight for everyone, especially if you are a female.
Right. Yeah. And I can't imagine. Right. And that's, you're dealing with the mental toll of that. Now there's the physical toll of that. Talk to me then about, okay, so you went through with the removal. What's next?
So one of the decisions that I made, and that was a personal decision, and after a lot of research, is that I decided to go with a bilateral mastectomy, meaning that I would have both breasts removed, because history shows, and a lot of research shows, that it will show maybe later on, a couple of years down the road, that you would have another possibility of cancer again on your right side. So I decided to go with double mastectomy just because the recovery is long, the toll that it took on my family, the whole journey, mental, physical, and the recovery and the treatment plans, it was exhausting. So I didn't want to go through that. So I personally decided to have both of them removed.
That's a very difficult decision. What would you say to other women who are either battling this right now or just being diagnosed? If you could go back to yourself and give them one piece of advice, what would it be?
Trust your medical team and take it day by day, because every day will look different. Some days you are strong and you can hold it together. Other days you just have to be brave and have grace and let yourself heal with whatever you need to heal. So take it day by day and trust the process.
And can you tell us a little bit about how you're doing today?
I am doing very well. I am now in remission. 2024, I had a series of surgeries, not only for rebuild the breast, but also just to make sure everything is working properly and it looks good. But again, that was a personal decision. You don't have to do that, but I did decide that I was going to follow through with reconstruction. Fortunately, and because this was early, it was detected early, I was able to skip chemo and radiation because we moved with urgency and were able to find it very, very soon, very early stages.
Yeah. Early detection, as we say, is key. Anytime you go to a cancer center or one of the top hospitals in the world, they'll tell you that. And again, as I opened up this podcast, you had mentioned wanting to help other people when you went through it. So you tell us, how did you become the Union County captain for the Pennsylvania Breast Cancer Coalition? And tell us a little bit about your role there.
So what I decided when I went through my journey, I think the challenge that I found was to get reliable information and to understand that I was not on this journey alone. I couldn't connect to anyone. Being a Black woman, being a female, being Portuguese here in Lewisburg, I couldn't find a lot of people that were able to open up and tell me their story. So I had to do a lot of research. At that point, I just realized how disconnected at times when you go through a journey like that, you are from actual, the journey itself. So I was looking for resources. I was looking for help to deal with mental, emotional, physical aspects of it. And one of the things that was a huge highlight during my journey, it was how my family played a role in my recovery. So my husband, being a husband and being in the military, he decided to tackle my spreadsheets. So he had a very clear schedule of appointments, follow-up notes, and visitors, and meal plans. So everything was structured and organized so I wouldn't have to worry about that. And my children, they surprised me because, this is terrible news. When you go to someone and you go to your children and say, Mom has cancer, it's devastating. It's devastating for any child. My children gladly, and I'm so proud of them because after the blow, they actually stood up and decided to take a role. So my younger one said she was going to be my personal nurse, meaning she would give me a lot of that cuddling part of it and make sure that I was taking my medication. My middle one, he was in the Lewisburg football team, and he decided to be my personal trainer. So he was in charge of mom's exercises and taking me for a walk so I could recover faster. And my oldest one decided to tackle music. So from playing the piano at the house and sending inspiration quotes and keeping me mentally engaged, and giving me an opportunity to cry and give me an opportunity to just think of something else and have hope. That was my gift.
That is very special. That is very, very special. And what a great story. Anything else that you would like to tell our audience about your journey, your efforts with the Breast Cancer Coalition, or anything else to help motivate them if they're struggling with adversity?
I would say you need to speak up because you just never know who's listening. Fortunately, the community came together, and my YMCA, a Zumba crew, they line up on my door to visit me, to bring me goodies, to bring me food. And also my dance team. So I had a lot of community support once I start speaking up and telling the truth and not feeling embarrassed that I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and just coming to fruition that just because you are going through that journey, it doesn't mean you are, and it's not a label. So it's not on you. You have to do the treatment, and I understand that your body failed you. But at this point, you have to move forward and come up with another version of what you can become. And I decided that I was going to join the Pennsylvania Breast Coalition because I wanted to help. I wanted to alert everyone. And I also wanted to keep a promise because I promised God, depending on whatever religion you're in, I made a promise. I promised God that if he would help me and get out of this tremendous illness, that I was going to be an advocate and I was going to help as many people as I can.
Well, I have to tell you, you're doing that. And just by coming on this podcast and speaking in your bright pink, beautiful jacket, right? You are making a difference. So thank you so much for telling your story. I think that this podcast will be really well received. The other thing is you're very authentic, right? You're confident in you. You're not afraid to tell the raw, real story, right? Even the reconstruction story, right? Like those are things that, even me, like I can't relate to that, but like I have scars all over my body. And sometimes I'm like, I don't want to take my shirt off. Right? Like just because if it's just, there's just slices everywhere. Right. So, talking about that, those are things that, most people can't relate to. So thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being an advocate, and thank you for being you. So, a few things. I'm going to move into my leadership topic of the day. Milla is just an amazing guest, and leadership can be lonely. Okay, that's something that I want to talk about today because she had mentioned that there is support out there for you. So whether you're battling an illness, whether you're battling a leadership issue, there is support out there for you. She had mentioned the Union County Breast Cancer Coalition. For me, I relied on an organization called the VHL Alliance, which is out of Washington, D.C. I would call them when I was doing my research because I didn't have a leader. I was confused. I was reading different opinions. So what I would say is, don't be afraid to seek help. Don't be afraid to seek a mentor. Don't be afraid to seek an organization like the Union County Breast Cancer Coalition, because being diagnosed with cancer, even though, I have a strong family, Milla has a strong family, not everybody has that, right? So similar to leadership, being lonely, being diagnosed with cancer can also be very lonely. So, I love that she had mentioned we need to speak up and we need to show up. And she promised God that that's what she was going to do. That's our duty, as you've heard me say that before. And those of us that have been through these battles, the similar theme is I want to help somebody else because we felt lost. We felt alone. We felt out of control. So if you can offer that hand to somebody in your life, I strongly encourage you to do so. That phone call, that text, that email, that walk, that exercise, that Zumba class singing on your doorstep, it means the world to folks. And I highly encourage us to continue to support each other. Milla, awesome interview. Thank you so much for joining us. And Chad, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, thanks so much. This is what this podcast is all about, using adversity as motivation. Again, thank you to our sponsors, GDK Development. Also, big thank you to Brian G. Persing Masonry, as well as the Plumbing Outlet for being our sponsors for this episode and Lauer Power. Chad, it's a pleasure.
Can't wait to get started on the next one.
Are you a business owner, a leader, or an aspiring achiever looking to turn life's challenges into powerful fuel for your success? You've come to the right place. Get ready to unlock the secrets to turning life's hardships into your most powerful ally. Your hosts, along with our incredible guests, will help you tap into your own Lauer Power and guide you towards the success you've always dreamed of.